All right, everybody, welcome out to this special broadcast of the Locker Room Sports Podcast. It's NBA Corner tonight. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, are Mr. Harry Lug Nutz and Mr. RadioPete. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello, guys. Hello, guys.
How the hell are you guys on this lovely Friday night?
Tired.
Tired. Long week?
Long week, and
this week seemed to just take longer than usual. It did for me.
I still have like a day and a half left to work, and then I get to start again on Monday, so it doesn't really matter. What I like about working on Saturdays is that the phone calls and the emails tend to die down, and I like that. So
there you go. So you can just get your work done, not worry about all your other distractions.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of distractions, what do you think about Blake Griffin possibly winding up on the Nets?
Well, why not?
Why not?
You know, I mean, Blake Griffin. Well, look, I think Blake Griffin can become what Kenyon Martin was later in his career. You know,
a thug.
Well, no, but Kenyon Martin was a great defensive player who was smart, and you know, could really do something when the second unit was on the floor.
Right. And
I still think Blake Griffin has moments when he can dominate a game, not for long, but you know, it's not like you want him to be the guy with the ball in his hand behind the 3-point line, but the Nets aren't going to look for him for that. They need him to get in there and actually rebound for once in his career, and play defense and bring a little bit of variety to their second string. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not excited about it. It really doesn't mean much to me. I mean, great. It adds to their depth. If Durant comes back, great. If you're starting Kevin Durant as one of your top 5, I mean, that's great. If you're starting Blake Griffin in that spot because Durant's glass slippers won't fit, then I don't know. Doesn't get me very excited.
Doesn't get you too excited. But,
it's obviously
he's going to clear
waivers, as it were,
right,
or something like that.
Yeah, he's going to clear him on Sunday. So
he's insurance in case Kevin Durant is more hurt than we hope that he's hurt, and but I think his main job is depth off the bench. And look, this might be something of a rejuvenation for him. You know, he's. I mean, what's he been doing in Detroit for the past 3 years?
He's been okay.
He's been fine. His play has been fine, but they're not going anywhere.
I don't understand. I don't understand the Pistons, and you know the biggest question mark with the Pistons is why Jeremy Grant, who it was just about playing time, I guess, because he was a big part of the Nuggets last year. The Nuggets offered him the same amount, if not more, if I'm not mistaken, to stay, and he says, "No, I'm going to go to Detroit." Like so,
yeah,
you know. I can understand, okay, he's a big piece, and he's probably the most improved player in the NBA this year when you really look at it.
Right.
But you take away one of the only other pieces of that puzzle. Are they just going to unload people? I mean, I understand a buyout for Blake Griffin. He's costing them a lot of money. But what are the Pistons actually doing? It's confusing to me. I don't quite get it.
Yeah, I don't know if they know what they're doing, but really? You know, he could have a rejuvenation in Brooklyn too. You know, he might get excited about playing. I can't imagine he's been very excited about playing in Detroit, so he could come to Brooklyn. And look, he's not going to be the Blake Griffin of 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Well, he can't be because he was a guy like that's why the Kenyon Martin comparison to me is because he really did rely almost exclusively on his athleticism.
Yeah,
you know,
but he still could have.
He's still a good basketball player.
He's still a good player, and he, like I said, he will most likely be somewhat rejuvenated in Brooklyn. He's going to get a shot at winning a title, most likely, and that's what it's about. Brooklyn is now the destination, or one of them certainly, if you want to win a ring.
I mean, on a team where he's arguably the second and was maybe the first option, he was averaging 12 and 5. So I think, he's going to give you 6 and 3 and 18 minutes a game. If Durant's
that's
healthy.
it. If Durant is out, then he'll play, 30 plus. I guess he's playing about 30 or 31.
But why would you insert him into a lineup that's won 10 out of their last 12 games? I mean, maybe at specific matchups he comes in, but
maybe
who if Durant isn't there, whose spot does he take on the Nets starting lineup? I don't think anybody.
Nobody's really. It's just
No.
depth. It's really good.
Yeah.
What it's going to be.
He's going to come in on the second team, and they'll probably, much like they do with Harden, they'll kind of rotate him and let Harden kind of hang out with the second string, or Kyrie hang out with the second team, and
get Leonard now too.
Yeah, that's how they might use him, because obviously you don't want the big three in or the big three out. So, Griffin is a guy who you would think, assumedly, could be used in that fashion to give one of those guys a rest.
I mean, he doesn't hurt. It certainly doesn't hurt anything. I mean, gives them the opportunity to add, another. Maybe they can add, 3 or 4 other. Maybe they could add Andre Iguodala and PJ Tucker. I just picture them just going all in. It's just, every 34, 5-year-old.
Well, I mean, be fair. Blake Griffin's only 31. He's not going to be 32 till next week. Got a week after.
But probably more than anything, I would say this is a sign that they're
much younger than those
Durant.
other guys.
Yeah. Age-wise, he's much younger. I think he's. I mean, he's just one of those guys. It's just called Mother Nature. It's not like he ever his game was attacking the rim, and he was fantastic at it. I mean, before there was Zion Williamson, there was Blake Griffin, and before there was Blake Griffin, there was Sean Kemp, and before there was Sean Kemp, there was the list goes on and on of guys who really relied on just sort of dominating. I mean, Giannis is sort of a better version of what Blake Griffin was when he first came in the league. Giannis has expanded his game a little bit more and is a lot younger.
Right.
So,
well, you know what? We'll see how that all shakes out. I mean, like I said, he's going to clear waivers on Sunday, so I'm sure we'll hear rumors on all weekend long.
And he might go somewhere else
one
too.
Post said rival teams with interest are expecting Griffin to choose the Nets.
Right. I mean, it looks like the Nets, the Warriors, the Heat, and the Trailblazers are interested.
Right. So, we'll see what happens. One quick note, Knicks-wise, Julius Randle last night had 27 points, 16 rebounds, and 7 assists. The only reason I'm throwing that out there is because he became the first Knicks player with 10-plus 25, 10, and 5 games in a single season since 1983. So that's something.
He's having a hell of a year. He's definitely, he's got some help, but look, the ball stays in Randall's hand a lot, and it's working. He's having a career year. Mm-hmm. He's by far the best player on the Knicks team, and I think he's one of the best. He's a top 5 power forward in the league right now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And look, the Knicks are heading into an All-Star break over 500.
Yeah, this is true.
So
over 500,
and they wouldn't be there without Julius Randle. There's no way they'd even be close.
No, not at all.
So, when you talk about guys who are head and shoulders above their other players as the best player on their team, he's right up there. Yep. RJ Barrett's getting better. They've got a lot of role players, but it's his team. The ball rotates and revolves around him, and as it should. He's stepped up and become the best player on the team. Right. And he's an all-star. So
this is true.
Hey, speaking of the All-Star weekend,
what do you think, Pete?
Good news. We'll actually finally get to see Obi Toppin.
Oh, yeah. Is he going to be in the skills or the?
No, he's in the dunk. Yeah. So we're finally going to get to
Obi Toppin. Yeah, he's in the dunk.
Yeah,
in the dunk.
And he has more of a resume than I realized. He was like the player of the year or something, and with Dayton and what they had 2 losses a couple of years ago and stuff. So yeah, he was a little bit of a bigger deal than I realized. So it'd be nice to actually see him play or dunk at least.
What time do we have to be watching to see that?
I don't know.
Halftime.
Is it at halftime?
The slam dunk competition is at halftime. Yeah.
Okay.
The 3-point skills is before the game, and the dunk is at halftime.
Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you watched an entire NBA All-Star game?
The game, Oh, geez, I don't remember.
I
Honestly.
think if I'm going to be honest, I think
I usually watch a Saturday night. I
think Magic and Bird were probably still playing.
Probably.
Yeah.
It was long ago enough that I cannot remember when it was.
But look, these teams are pretty balanced, and I think you're going to see a couple Utah Jazz guys go out there when they get a chance to try to prove some stuff.
Yeah. So you see who they pick. You see who the team LeBron and team Durant.
Oh yeah.
You got them all.
Do you think it was a diss that
so team LeBron is Giannis, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, and Nikola Jokic, with of course himself obviously starting.
Yeah, well, Durant's obviously Team Durant is,
he's not starting.
And it's funny because his team really is everybody who's always hurt or resting.
Right. Pretty much. Yeah.
Do you think it was a diss that Mitchell and Gobert
Tatum,
got picked
Kawhi,
last?
I
Kyrie, Embiid and Bale.
I think it's just much like all of us. I think these guys, they just don't know him. They just don't see him very often. And maybe I think Gobert is a little bit of a diss. I mean, Gobert is one of those guys he's a true kind of old school big man who doesn't score a ton and is, a good rebounder and a very good defensive player. Right. But if you watch Utah, they are the Utah Jazz of the late 80s and early 90s. I mean, Gobert and what's his name? They run the pick and roll. That Mitchell, they run the pick and roll constantly all game long, and they're good at it. And they've got the best record in basketball.
Right. Yeah, Gobert's a great defensive player. His offense is mediocre, but there are other really good defensive players who maybe have a little more offensive skills, but. I don't know. I just thought
he's averaging 14 and 13. I mean, those are Rick Schmidt's numbers.
Yeah,
I'm
not saying he's doesn't deserve to go. I just thought it was a little bit of hopefully a good-natured sort of poke in the eye that they were picked last.
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Doesn't matter. They're on the team, so
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter if you get picked last.
They'll get their minutes.
If you get picked
for what it's worth, they'll play.
You get picked last for dodgeball at 15 of the best dodgeball players in the world, then it's okay.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So what does it boil down to? So, but hey, you know what? It's going to be interesting. I think there's probably going to be more people watching. This game than most normally do.
Well, scoring's up. I mean, one of the things I was looking at, it wasn't 6-7 years ago, the leading scorers in the league, you'd have one guy who was always flirting with 30.
Right.
And then, there'd be guys that were 20, 21, 22.3, that were in the top 10. Now 20 points a game and you're in the maybe 25th, 26th in the league.
Sure.
There's just there's a lot more scoring. I mean, everybody's scoring is up this year. I mean, just go through the numbers. I mean, Bradley Beal almost 33, Embiid over 30, Irving 27.2, Kawhi's even up at 26.6.
Yeah.
It's just scoring is up. Even LeBron's numbers are up. He's averaging almost 26 a game. It's just Curry's flirting with 30. Giannis is always flirting with 30. I mean, the lowest other than Gobert. I mean, I think the only other guy on here who's, you got Sabonis who's right at 20 a game, but
Chris Paul
and Ben Simmons. Yeah.
Yeah. So you wouldn't really expect Chris Paul to be scoring 28 a game.
No.
And Lillard is 29.8 too, but I mean that's to be expected. But yeah. It's going to be very interesting. Who do we think is going to get the MVP?
Well, I don't know. My whole thing, you talked about Damian Lillard. How is Damian Lillard not starting? Like, I think Stephen A. Smith was talking about Damian Lillard the other day and how he wants him to go to a big market team and all of that. And I think a lot of my friends in Portland would say, no, go F yourself. He's a top 5 player and I think he's by far the best point guard in the league. And I understand the fans vote for the starters and then, but I think it goes back to our earlier point with Utah. I just don't think people don't see these guys enough because they're West Coast teams and they play, the East Coast media markets just never cover them.
Right.
Where, even Zach LaVine is in Chicago. How many people know who Zach LaVine is? He's averaging almost 30 points a game.
Right.
It's, you complain about the Nets not getting enough media coverage. That's all I hear about are the Lakers and the Nets. You watch ESPN. That's all you hear about it.
Well, yeah, there's a narrative there. There's a narrative there. Also the fact that scoring is up and you've got so many guys that are at 27, 28, 29, around that 30 mark. It's not such a standout anymore.
No.
So that's one thing that Damian Lillard kind of loses, right? He's scoring almost 30 points a game.
30 and 8. I mean, yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, it's still impressive, but I'm saying
but then again, Nikola Jokic, a center, is doing better. He has more assists per game.
Yeah,
he's adding 11 rebounds, and he's
right. But that 30 points a game isn't like there's 4 guys in the league that are scoring 29 to 30. There's a whole bunch of them right now. So
yeah. But if you watch him, I would argue, other than Steph Curry, there's nobody who's a better. And if the game is about outside shooting, now I don't think there's anybody who has more range than Damian Lillard. I think the guy can hit from almost anywhere. I think Curry falls into that. Maybe Doncic a notch below that, and there's a couple other guys, but he can create his own shot, and he's kind of that new age point guard.
Curry and Lillard are guys that it's just practice, but they take 20 half court shots.
Yeah.
And probably make, 11 of them or so,
right.
Just things that no one should be able to do.
Yeah, it's just a weird amount. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it just goes to show that, I'm not sure the game's any more exciting this year with the scoring being up as much as I find that A, there's not as many close games going down to the wire, and B, I just feel like once the game starts to get out of hand, guys it's just over. Right. They just don't care.
Yeah.
I like watching defense better than scoring. So
I like a balance. Again, I don't want to see a 65,
I don't want to see
48 game.
Right.
But it just seems like there's no real they need to back off this what they're calling as far as fouls. They need to let them play a little bit more physical. Yeah. I think the game would benefit from it.
Oh, it definitely would. Absolutely.
But
yeah, there's really, with the exception of a couple of guys, there's not a whole lot of low post game going on.
No,
it's slashing to the basket or shooting from the outside, or passing down low, and then it's a kick out. So
Giannis has a low post game. Obviously, Embiid does. Jokic has sort of a high low. He's an anomaly that he has his own sort of game, but he can obviously play and guard in the low post. He gets slammed for being a bad defensive player, and he's actually not a bad defensive player at all. I wouldn't say he's great, but he's better than average. Yeah. And then you got guys like I say Ben Simmons has more of a post game, and then of course Zion, and I don't know what you would call Anthony Davis's game, but he certainly has a post game. So.
Yeah, but he could do anything he wants.
Yeah, same thing with Randall. They're kind of big men that they might start there every once in a while, but they kind of float him around. He's become more of a corner wing player, if anything.
Yeah.
But he's not going to play. So, it's just going to be up and down the court. I think.
Nobody's playing defense on Sunday.
Nobody's playing. Well, and I'm not even. Yeah, it's just going to be a wide open. But I think. If I'm going to pick somebody who's just going to say, you know what, I'm just going to go off, I think it's going to be James Harden. I think James Harden's going to have fun in this game, and I think I think you could see him score 30. I think you could see somebody like Damian Lillard or Steph Curry do that too. I'm not sure how much Steph Curry really wants to do that, but the starters always have a better chance because they typically play a little bit more, but. Team Durant, Bradley Beal would be the one guy that I could see going off. Maybe Kyrie. The other guys are more, possession players. On Team LeBron, I don't know. I sort of see like Giannis and Jokic just making fantastic passes to Doncic and Curry. It's just
right.
And who knows? I think LeBron's hurting a little bit. I don't think you're going to see him play a ton of minutes.
LeBron's probably going to have about 35 assists.
Yeah, in 12 minutes.
In 12 minutes.
Assists in 5 minutes.
You know what? I'm gonna take Lillard.
Yeah,
I think he's just gonna come down and he's like, this is a show, and I'm gonna put on a show.
Yeah,
and enjoy it. So
I think Lillard, Beal, Donovan Mitchell. I think any of those guys. Curry,
I don't think is gonna want to do that, but he definitely has the ability to do that.
Oh, sure.
And you know what? Don't rule out Kyrie. He's a hell of a scorer.
I was going to say, Kyrie's going to want to.
Right, Kyrie's going to want to.
Yeah, Kyrie's the kind of guy who's going to want to make a stamp.
Watch the Jokic Doncic show. I think those two together are going to – I think that's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be –
That's on NBA TV. It's
right.
the Jokic Doncic show.
It's
on Saturday nights at 9:30.
It's there's a segment on pickled foods and
it's like the old Hee Haw show.
Something like that. Yeah,
tell jokes and talk about pickled foods and
Serbian Hee Haws. Yeah,
Serbian Hee Haw. All right, let's see.
Slovenian Hee Haw.
Oh, you know what? I wanted to mention.
But hey.
The Knicks, I was looking at their schedule. They got it rough at the end of the.
You're going to mention the Knicks?
Yeah. Because what do I have to say about the Nets? Nothing. They might get Blake Griffin.
True. I got you.
They're the team to beat. They are.
Right.
And they're the destination.
I looked at the Knicks schedule when we were talking about it during the last podcast, and I still think they could win another 15 games.
That West Coast trip right at the end of the year, though, before those last 3 home games, is going to be rough. And I really hope that they're not in a position where, they're going to go in and go, 1 for 6 or whatever, and end up getting bounced, maybe being on the cusp of the playoffs and then getting kicked downstairs.
Well, I still think it's going to be hard for them to stay in the playoffs.
I think it is too. Look, the Celtics have won, I think, 4 or 5 in a row. They're supposed to get what's his name? Smart, I think they said is probably going to come back shortly, if not right after the All-Star break. And I think we talked about this too, just teams in the East getting better. And the Knicks, unless they're going to bring in a big name, they're a nice team. But I think I heard today they were 7-13 against winning teams and 12-4 or something against losing teams. So, which is kind of what you do when you're that kind of a team. You have good hustle and you play some good defense, and you don't really have superstars. You beat the lousy teams. You beat some of the really good teams, but they're 1 out of 3 against teams with winning records in that sense, as far as wins go.
I still stick by what I said. I think they're going to be right at somewhere between 28 and 30 wins, and that's that'll put them right at right. I think it's going to be tough for them to do it, but and you're right. They seem to not be able to beat teams they shouldn't be able to beat.
Right.
Conversely, they don't typically lose to teams that they should lose to.
No, they're right. They're right on the cusp of that team that's almost ready to break out.
Right. They need another player.
Yeah.
And the question mark is, will they try to do something before the trade deadline? And my gut tells me no. I think they're going to ride out this season. I don't think the Knicks are going to make a big move. I don't think they can.
Well, anybody that they can get or they would want to get is only it's only going to be a rental for the rest of the season, right?
Potentially. I mean, who knows? I mean, or if they get a trade with somebody who has more than 1 season on their contract left, then that's
but anybody
the
that's been mentioned is a free agent after this year.
Right.
So, unless it's somebody that hasn't been talked about yet. It's not. So I kind of would have to agree with you on that one. Why bother at this point? See what you got, play it out. You're not, if you sneak in to the playoffs, great. But you're not really going to go far.
Right.
You're not going to win a series.
Why?
Put it this way. They're not going to get anybody that's on either of these all-star lineups.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what they need. They need but they might have a chance with somebody in that next tier.
But can James Dolan,
Right.
If he hears enough from those Knicks fans who want to see something happen now, who aren't going to be satisfied with what is really a remarkable turnaround, and a couple
he does
games under
not give a
500,
shit. Yeah.
Will he kind of get cold feet and say we got to do something?
No. The only bad thing about the Knicks improving this year is that it takes all of the pressure off of Dolan to sell the team. I almost wish that Spike Lee, I've said this before, I just wish Spike Lee would stand up and just say, I'm going to lead a boycott of this team until the owner sells.
Right. But that's hard to do now because they're better.
It's hard to do now. The time was last year to do that. And I just don't think look, I think we're going to make tiny steps and we're going to get excited. And there's going to be a lot of people talking about X, Y, and Z signing with the Knicks in the offseason. I honestly think the Knicks are better off right now trying to improve in who they draft, and then getting some. It's about quantity right now. They need 2 or 3 good players, and they're not going to get what they're going to have to give up to get a Bradley Beal is going to be too much. Plus, the Wizards won again last night.
Right.
The Wizards would be dumb to break up what they got going on. They
finally got somebody who can play well with Westbrook.
Right. And here's another thing. The fact that Russell Westbrook is not an all-star is utter nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's almost averaging a triple-double. And he's a big reason why the Wizards and why Bradley Beal is having a standout season.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, is Devin Booker better than Russell Westbrook? Is Jaylen Brown better than Russell Westbrook? For that matter, is Julius Randle or Sabonis or Ben Simmons? No, I wouldn't take any of them. I would take Westbrook right now over all of them.
Westbrook's better than any of them, yeah.
And it's just ridiculous that he's not an all-star. It really is. I think the Wizards are one player away from really competing. And if they hadn't gotten off to such a horrible start, they're beating good teams consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know what? There's a bunch of unrestricted free agent big names out there as of next year.
Right.
Like Steve, Curry, Kawhi Leonard. Who else we got here? Zach LaVine.
Well, Curry's staying where he's at. LaVine's an interesting.
Beverly, that's the kind of guy they might be interested in.
LaVine is interesting to me. He's improved a lot over his. Because who was he drafted by? I'm forgetting. Wasn't he with? I forget who he was with the first couple of years, but he's in his 6th year now, and I bet he's gone from 14 points a game to almost 29 points a game. So it's he's an interesting. There's been some mention of him, but he's in a bad situation, so maybe New York is kind of interesting to him. I could see him kind of. He's one of these tweeners. It's just not what the Knicks need.
Yeah,
he's a 6'5" guy. Is he a 2? I guess he'd be a 2 on the Knicks. He'd obviously be a starting. Maybe you go small and your front court is Barrett. I don't know. I don't know how he would do it, but he was on Minnesota.
Yeah.
But so he would be an interesting guy, Who knows?
Well, I would say initially they need someone who is better than the guys they have on the team right now.
Well, they need to find another Julius Randle, a guy who, and that's where Jeremy Grant is with the Pistons, who was on the Nuggets. It's these guys who are really good and are not getting the minutes, the time, or the consistency that they need. Right. Aren't matched up with the right coach or the right system. The Knicks have a kind of old school system. A Damian Lillard's not going to want to come play for the Knicks.
Nope.
So they need.
But he might.
They need 2 B+ guys and 3 Bs to beat a good team. And
right, but I'm saying their first acquisition doesn't have to be an all-star.
No,
it's got to be somebody who's better than who they've got.
Well, let's be
right
honest.
Now.
They need a true shooter who can play defense. They need a 3-and-D, and somebody who can be a 1A or 1B or even a 1A option, because I think that helps Randall even more. And then they need some help. Just they need some length. Although they're pretty good at center right now, especially once Mitchell gets healthy. They need some guards. They need some guards who can shoot.
Yeah, that's another thing to consider, what they've been doing without Mitchell. Yeah. So that's going to bode well for them. I don't know when he's coming back, but in the second half of the season, that'll probably help keep them closer to 500.
Well, they're going to compete with the Sixers. I mean, the teams that they're going to have to beat eventually are the Heat and obviously the Nets and the Sixers. And you need somebody. You need one or two guys who can go up and put some time in guarding Embiid for a whole game. I mean, that's another thing where I think Blake Griffin sort of helps the Nets. He can at least go in there and give you 3 fouls and at least play some team defense against them. It's about matchups. I think it's the same story where there's other teams that are looking for their third player. The Knicks needed their second player.
Right.
And the rest of them, they have good role. I mean, if you take a couple of their starters and put them into a second team, they're solid and they're good, and they could win that battle of the second string matchups. They need a strong 2 or a 2-1 kind of combo player, and go from there. They might have to give up some of the things that they're kind of holding on to. I think if I'm the Knicks, I think Mitchell, Randall, and RJ Barrett. Other than that, my ears are open.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe I would put. We'll see how the second half of the year goes for him. I'd maybe put quickly on that.
Yeah, list. I'm not sold on him, but I think I think he's got a lot of upside. But he's the one guy who I think other people are interested in. I think there's more interest in him than there would be.
Quickly,
yeah. But I think
there's more interest in him than Toppin. There's more interest in him than
But if you look at where Quickly was drafted versus his potential, I think that's a reason to me. That's a reason why the Knicks would say, we should hang on to this guy. Put a little bit more.
I agree.
A little bit more emphasis on hanging on to this guy if we can. If somebody's really down on him, then pretty much everyone's expendable virtually, but he's a guy that because of those factors, I would want to hang on to him.
I mean, we talk about All-Star break, and we talk about the Knicks maybe not being able to hold on to a playoff seed. What do you see really changing? Because what do we have? We have 20 games left in the second half of the season.
No. Actually, there is. We were mistaken the other night. It's a 72 game season. So
72.
Actually, yeah.
Okay.
So there's 30.
That's what I thought.
The Knicks have 35 games left.
Okay. So they might be able to. So. Look, I don't see a lot changing in the East. I think the Wizards are going to make the playoffs. I think the Pacers should make the playoffs, and I think the Raptors should make the playoffs, and they're right there right now. But I think the Celtics can go sideways, to be honest with you, and I think the Heat are finally playing good ball, and they'll probably wind up. I think the top 3 spots are set. I think it's going to be the Sixers, the Nets, and the Bucks. Maybe not in that order, but I think those will be the top 3. I think Miami's going to be a number 4 when it's all said and done.
I agree.
I really think this Wizards team could easily be a 6 or a 5, and I don't think I want to play them in the first round.
They got a long way to go, but
they do. But they're a game and a half out of the. Well, no, they're 2 games out of the last playoff spot right now.
Yeah, and I don't know. I tend to think the Celtics will be better in the second half.
They need to. It's almost like they need to.
But again, just the last handful of games, Kemba Walker seems to have found a little bit of something.
He's got his legs. He's literally got his legs back.
Yeah, literally. And then you've got. You've got the Hornets and the Raptors, and who amongst them is going to move up? I think it's just going to be a little bit tougher for the Knicks to win games.
I agree.
But yeah,
because they're not playing only, they're not playing Detroit or Orlando, Cleveland,
right,
and Atlanta six times.
It's going to be really interesting to see what Washington does. Oh yeah, speaking of Atlanta, they fired their coach.
Yeah,
they weren't that bad. 4 games under 500. I don't know what.
Everybody was talking about the Hawks kind of being the easily a playoff contender this year, and I do think they've kind of taken a step backwards, but they've got some talent.
We know they can shoot, that's for sure.
Well, I think again, a guy who I don't think made the All-Star team, but Trae Young's a hell of a player.
Yeah, he's a superstar on the rise.
But we shall see. How about the West? What do you guys think in the West?
Utah. I mean, really. I mean,
look at Phoenix too. I mean, I
can't tell whether Pete's talking or not, so that's why I paused.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, are you still having trouble hearing me?
I can't hear a word you're saying. I hear everything.
You're just watching my mouth move.
You say something, and then when it finally catches up with you, Pat's talking, and at the same time. But you have already said it, but it's coming through at that time, so I don't know whether you're talking or not.
Oh, and
when
I'm
talking, I don't know whether.
Then there's the times when I'm actually talking at the same time as him.
Which is possible
confusing.
too, but I don't know which is which. So yeah, it's all fun like that.
All right, that's good stuff.
So
I'll just throw out random words.
There you go. That'll even be better. See, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Now you can. All right.
So it goes back and forth. It's weird. There's times when I hear you, and there's times when I don't. But lovely technology. You gotta love that.
Yeah,
as far as I just think the standings the way they are right now are pretty true as far as the West goes. I don't see anything changing all that much.
You think the Warriors missed the playoffs?
You know what? No. I mean, if anything, I'm thinking maybe the Warriors and the Mavs flip flop or whatever. But I think down to the Warriors, 8 of those 9 are going to be in it. In what order? I don't know. I'll say that the Jazz are going to stay at the top. I don't. Everybody else. I know there's only a 2.5, 3 game lead right now. They have, but they're just playing. Their basketball's so good right now. I don't think it's going to change.
I'll tell you, the Suns are a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
Both what I was saying earlier is that I was hot on the Suns last year, and they're playing. I think they've won 4 in a row, 8 of their last 10. They're hot, and but at the end of the day, I think it's the Lakers and the Clippers, and I do think the Lakers are, if they're healthy, are going to be really tough to beat. But you never know. The Nuggets could get hot again. The Spurs are actually playing good basketball.
Yeah, Spurs are pretty. They just kind of clopping along, doing what they do.
That's right. And they're 13-9 in the conference, which, and they're 7-1 in their division. So when they play their division, they're hard to beat. I don't know. It's going to be interesting in the West. I think the Nuggets will maintain. I think it's a coin flip between them and Portland for the 5th seed. I think the top 4 are the top 4. I think it's going to be hard. I mean, unless Utah and Phoenix really have a low point, or the Lakers just continue to have injury problems. I just can't foresee that happening.
I think you'll probably see LA a little higher up in the standings, assuming that Anthony Davis comes back.
They've lost 7 of their last 10.
Yeah, well, they're a different team without him, and
yeah,
that's a big. I mean, this is a big telltale what's going on there.
It just shows you that they don't have a lot of depth, the Lakers. They have less depth than they had last year. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if they still had Dwight Howard?
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, what team is Dwight Howard playing for? Backing up a MVP candidate, big man. I mean, Dwight Howard was an underrated piece of that Lakers championship team last year. And he's having a pretty good year in Philly.
Yeah, and all the pundits said, "Oh, the Lakers are better this year than they were last year."
What, Gasol? Where is Marc Gasol?
Yeah,
again, it's like these.
But
guys
we're seeing. I mean, yeah, we're seeing what makes that team go. As great as LeBron is, he can't. He's not getting that much help, and he can't do it all himself.
No. Yeah,
but I think if AD comes back and stays healthy, they'll probably be in the number 2 spot.
Well, Schroeder was a good pickup, and he's been hurt. Caruso was out the other day. They've had a lot of injuries, but that's the difference between them and the Nets. I think the Nets could 2 of their top 3 could, God forbid, be out for a couple games in the playoffs, and they could still win. So it'll be interesting.
It will be.
I think it'll be fun. And I'm actually kind of looking forward to this All-Star games. So over under 300 over.
What did we pick? We picked the other day, right?
I mean, we were talking we were
325,
341,
325.
325. I think. What was it?
Pete said 320. Harry said 346. I said it could be over 350. So all 3 of us are definitely taking the over 300.
Yeah.
At that note. So.
And who's your pick for MVP?
Oh, Julius Randle, of course.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
So 100
would be interesting.
176 to 175. Is that what we're looking at, John?
I'm gonna pick.
Nobody's playing defense, so it could happen. Everybody's shooting threes. So
I'm gonna go with James Harden as my second would be Jokic. I think he's gonna have like 20 assists, but I think Harden's just gonna go off.
Yeah.
I'll say I think
Harden's going to go up too. I still think I still think Kyrie's going to be.
Kyrie could very well. It's a perfect game for Kyrie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the 2 of them could. I think Lillard is going to have a spectacular game. I don't know if he'll get the MVP, if he'll have enough minutes, but I think he's just going to light it up. He's going to go for broke, and he certainly has the talent.
So who's in the slam dunk? Do we know anybody?
Toppin.
Toppin. Brent Barry and Greg Minor.
They should have an old timers, past. They should have Larry Nance and Spud Webb face off against D. Brown and Cedric Ceballos.
So who is it really?
I don't know. They don't.
I don't know.
They don't have it.
They had.
Had it the other night, didn't you, Pete?
Yeah, hang on. It's in here somewhere.
I don't see a list of it. That's the thing. It's just weird. Obi Toppin.
There's only 3
Anthony
names.
Simmons, Cassius Stanley.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony Simmons, Cassius Stanley, and Obi Toppin.
Yeah.
That's it. Just the 3 of them. That's it.
Weren't there a lot more guys in the past?
And then you got.
Yeah. I think there's still going to be some guys, but I honestly think they don't know who they're going to be yet, which is just crazy.
Well, that could be.
I mean, Obi Toppin's a great dunker, so I mean, he may very well win it.
Well, they're only promoting the 3 of them, and
I know
the damn thing is 48 hours away. So I don't know who they're going to add.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It is weird though that there's none of the participants in the All-Star game.
Well, that's been a trend for a long time now. I mean, why is Zion not in the dunk contest?
Yeah,
I just want to.
Yeah, nobody wants to risk getting hurt, which is kind of a cop out to me a little bit. I think
it's a cop out. You dunk every night.
Don't have it if you don't.
Yeah. If you dunk, you dunk all the time. So what? I mean, unless you're jumping over a moving car, Well,
I don't think it was a moving car. Yeah, Blake Griffin right now is just gonna do a 2-handed dunk under the basket.
Yeah, he's gonna stand there and just jump up and
climb up on a ladder and dunk like the Globetrotters.
That's right. He's gonna use Kenyon Martin.
He's gonna climb on a ladder and just drop the ball through. That's his dunk.
Yeah. Or put on those shoes with the big springs on them. Who's in the 3-point?
Right.
We don't know.
Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Zach LaVine, and Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, and then in the skills challenge, it's Robert Covington, Luka Doncic, Chris Paul, Julius Randle, Domantas Sabonis. Is that Sabonis' son from He played for Portland. Okay.
Arvydas
Sabonis, and then Vukovic. And then the dunk contest, they have 3 people. That's it. Anthony Simmons, Cassius Stanley from the Pacers, and
who's in the 3-point?
Well, it's halftime, right?
Yeah.
It's going on at halftime. So clearly they don't want 97 people participating because halftime's going to be 97 minutes long.
It's hard to admit. It's hard to believe they couldn't, fit 3 legitimate events in a single day. I mean, it's not.
This is not going to be as interesting as when Larry Bird went up against Reggie Miller in the 3-point shooting competition. Yeah. It's just not.
Who's in the 3-point again?
All right. So who's winning the dunk competition?
Simmons.
I'll take Toppin.
Pat, tell me who Pete said.
He said he's taking Toppin.
He's taking Toppin.
Toppin.
I'm actually going to go with Toppin too.
3-point: Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, Steph Curry, Zach LaVine, Donovan Mitchell, or Jason Tatum.
Mitchell.
I don't know. That's a good
Pete
one.
says Mitchell. I say Curry.
I say Curry too.
Okay.
I say Curry.
And then the skills challenge is Covington, Doncic, Chris Paul, Julius Randle, Sabonis, and Vucevic. I mean, I got to go with Luka on this one. His name is Luka.
His name is Luka.
What do they do in the skills?
The
Dribbling.
skills in the 3-pointer is what do they do in the skills?
Yeah, they dribble.
They dribble around a couple cones.
They dribble around cones.
And then
drink a beer.
They have to do a left-handed layup, and then then a bounce pass to a coach.
That's it. That's the whole skills competition.
Yeah, you would think Doncic would be the favorite.
Yeah, and they have to wear old school Chuck Taylors.
They're going to say Old Spice. I don't know.
They have to wear Old Spice and Bill Bradley's old shoes.
I'm going to take Chris Paul.
Where?
Is he even in it?
I thought you said his name.
No, he is.
No, you're right. He is. I'm going to take Chris Paul as the only guy possibly to wear Old Spice.
There you go. He probably will. I'm gonna. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna be a homer. I'm gonna say Randall.
Randall,
yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go.
So I got 2 Knicks winning 2 of the 3 competitions.
I got to tell you, after this podcast, I'm actually kind of excited to watch this now.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned it before.
That's the point of the podcast. It's supposed to convince people outside of the people doing the podcast.
But I'm saying, prior to the podcast, I was not that excited about the NBA All-Star Day. Now I'm pretty excited about it.
It's just amazing to see that much talent in it. Because the baseball All-Star game I also really like because they actually play.
Right.
Basketball is the only other All-Star game where it's kind of you get to see these guys. It's like the Globetrotters if the Globetrotters were the best players in the world, which at the time some of them were, but it's going to be interesting.
You ever see the Globetrotters back in the day?
I think so. I think once or twice. Yeah. They'd always play like, a bunch of prisoners from Long Island or something.
What the hell was the name of the team they played all the time? What the hell?
The Washington Generals.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I saw Meadowlark Lemon all in play back in the day.
Do you know, way back in the day, the Knicks used to go play outside of Madison Square Garden so that either the Circus or the Globetrotters could play there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's why the game where Wilt scored 100 was played in Hershey, Pennsylvania, because if I'm not mistaken, I think the Globetrotters were playing at the Garden.
I think you're right.
Isn't that crazy?
I do think you're right.
But that was also...
It was back when basketball was not what it is now.
Yeah, but I think that was also something that there were other teams that did occasionally. Yeah. They just went to some random civic center or whatever, just as a community outreach thing and to bring the game to people who couldn't travel to where they normally play.
That's right.
But I could see the Knicks getting kicked out for the Circus.
They wanted to go play for the Amish folks in Lancaster.
I would like to see the Knicks play in Madison Square Garden during the Circus.
Well, the Circus is no more, which is
no, I know. I'm saying back in the day. I mean,
Yeah, trust me, there is always a circus going on.
Well, what Dolan. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Just kind of, the Knicks had to leave because of the circus. Wait, I thought the Knicks were the circus. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But my point in saying it before, though, I like you said, I haven't watched the actual game, or I've watched parts of almost every All-Star game, but I haven't sat down and watched the entire All-Star game forever. But almost every year on, unless something's going on, I'm going out or do whatever, almost every year on the Saturday night, I watch the entire, the three competitions or whatever, that night. But now, this year, I'm obviously at least watching some of the first half because I want to see all of the, competitions. I might turn it off after, depending on how. But if I get hooked, hey, I might watch.
Well, you don't want to miss the end. The end is usually, there's usually at least a little bit of drama towards the end, unless it's really out of hand.
It's also going to be Sunday night, and it's still going to be cooler. So where the hell am I going? If I'm not going to bed, I'm watching the end of the games.
I don't know. Knowing you'd be watching, some sort of online YouTube podcast about who's going to be the Mets' sixth reliever.
No. I watched that yesterday. Sixth reliever on Thursdays.
That's right. Only in the preseason.
In the preseason, right. And after the All-Star break, before August.
Yes.
So just the last few weeks in July. That's it. We can go on with that. That's.
I don't know how you do after the All-Star break for preseason, but okay.
And after the All-Star break.
And
you missed the word and.
And.
All right. In addition to.
Well, there you go. That's about as exciting as you can get for this NBA
Very true.
All-Star
And
game.
who's what we did we say who's winning? What team? I'm saying not who's winning MVP.
I'm going Team LeBron.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Durant.
I'm gonna go LeBron.
All right.
Much as I hate to say that, but that's just what my extensive research has
your big mainframe computer in the back. You punched all the numbers in, and it gave you the answer.
Yeah, Deep Thought 2 has been working on this for several nanoseconds, and it came up with
that's good.
LeBron.
I just got to say, between Beal, Embiid, Kyrie, Kawhi, Harden, Levine, I don't see them not scoring a lot, and
there's all the head cases are on one team. I just feel like
so if they can just put the head cases aside for those 3 hours.
I just feel like when it comes down to it, I'll trust Steph Curry and LeBron James and Jokic and Doncic to win a game.
Right? It's going to be a good game. I'm not saying that in any means they're going to blow them out. But on the other way too, LeBron's not going to blow out Durant.
They also Team Durant, I think, also has Kawhi. They got some good players.
And like we said, it's going to be 176, 175. So it's going to be a 1-point game.
Yeah. Let's hope so.
And like a 3/4 or a half-court shot will win it.
Beyond half court.
Yeah, as the buzzer sounds.
As the buzzer sounds, he's at the top of the arc on the other side of the court.
Yeah.
And he throws the ball.
Team Durant, I think on a whole, has maybe some overall better shooters. But when you got Doncic and Curry,
yeah. I mean, I see your point.
And Lillard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, Beal, Irving, Kawhi, Devin Booker, Vucevic, Donovan Mitchell, and Harden. That's gonna be tough.
It is.
That's a lot.
What's our over under on the most individual points? I mean, we've talked about who we think the MVP
40.
is. Going to
35.
I said 40.
40. I'll go under if it's 40.
Okay.
Under 40. I'm going to say over.
I'm going to say over 40.
I think somebody's going to put up like 49 or 50.
Somebody's going to put. I don't know if they'll hit 50, but they'll put up more than 40. Somebody's going to put up more than 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
is anybody writing these things down?
Not at all.
No. We'll just watch the podcast. We'll watch the podcast on Tuesday to see what.
Well, I got to rewatch the whole thing right now just to see what you said in the beginning of it. So.
All right. Well,
but,
Isn't there a woman on a typewriter
we got the transcriber.
Transcribing all
She's
that?
off screen. You can't see her. Here, I got a picture of her. Hold on, I'll put it up.
Do we have a stenographer? I thought.
Right there, that's her.
Yeah, that's her.
That's her right there.
It's expensive.
Marie Kondo, yeah, she cleans my closet and takes notes for the the transcripts for the podcast.
She not only declutters your house, she declutters words.
Words, absolutely.
Well, here's something that
all these vowels.
Here's something that makes my pick feel pretty good. Do you know who holds the record for most points scored in an All-Star game?
Steph Curry.
No, Anthony Davis.
Really?
52. Before him, Wilt Chamberlain, 42. And it was way back in 1962. So since 1962 up until currently with Davis, no one scored more than 42. In fact, no one has scored more than 42 since 62. Okay. So I feel pretty good. I think the NBA. I think somebody will be in the 30s, but I don't think they're going to get over 40. All right. But we'll see. If there's ever a year where somebody's going to do it, it's going to be this year.
Well, that's my point. Look, there's no defense and everybody's shooting threes. So it's going to be somebody's getting in the 40s, at least one, if not more, and it's going to be a high scoring game. So what do we say? What do we realistically land on the over under for the total score? Obviously 350 is outrageous, but what do we say?
Well, what was our picks?
The other night we said 320. Tonight you said 300. So what?
Oh, I think it'll be definitely. I think the over/under's got to be 330 at the lowest to make it interesting.
And you're going to take the under?
Well, why don't we just pick a number and whoever's closest?
Done. All right.
And you can go over, right?
Didn't we already do that?
Closest without going over.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were gonna.
We did. Yeah, you picked. You
want to amend your 350?
I want to amend my 350. I'm gonna come back down to 336.
Ooh.
There you go.
I'm gonna stick with 320.
Okay. So let's see. The last. I don't have 2008. 2019, it was 178 to 164. 2017, it was 192 to 182. 2016, it was 196 to 173.
I'm going to go back to 350.
It's looking so bad now.
So I think I'm going to stick with what I originally said because I think I originally said 346.
You said 346, yeah.
I'm going to stick with that.
All right. So I got the low end of this.
You do, yeah. So 336, 346, and 320.
I mean, 2014, I think, was the last time it was under 300. Yeah, so
it's going to be fun.
Yep. Yeah, the last time the winning team did not score 160 or more was 2014. It was it was 163. So the lowest score by a winning team in the last 6 years was 163. That was done twice. Then it was 178, 192, 196, 170. It was down last year, 178. I don't know why they don't have 2018 here. But anyway.
I don't know.
It'll be interesting.
It will be interesting. It will be very interesting. So, well, all right. So we got all of that.
They have to put new nets on at halftime, don't they?
Every quarter they have to put it on.
Change the rims.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So,
all right.
So we'll see how it plays out, and then we'll be back next Wednesday with the regular podcast. And there's no games until that night, so NBA wise, we'll just have the All-Star game and our picks and everything else to chat about as well.
God, we're gonna have to talk about hockey.
Anything else?
No, we're gonna do the top 10 basketball movies of all time. So.
Top 10 basketball movies of all time.
And
so, there you go.
And that'll be it. That'll be the entire podcast.
Well,
that's
pretty much it. Yeah.
And you guys will have at least a half hour of some fill in the blank obscure Mets player who.
But we're also what we call it. We also.
And I'll be complaining about the Yankees pitching for at least 5 minutes.
At least 5 minutes, probably 10 or 15. No, 5 minutes on the Yankees pitching, 10 mints on Gary Sanchez.
Yeah,
those are our standard segments.
Those are standard segments. So.
The shit on Sanchez.
Put music to it. Shit on Sanchez. Yeah.
But he hit another home run the other day.
He did.
I told you.
Everything's fine.
Better.
It's all better.
He's all better.
And then they lost by 2 touchdowns.
Get rid of Kyle Higashioka. Get rid of him.
I'm telling you, My surprise team this year is the Phillies. You heard it first here.
Yeah, you said you said it the other day, well, it's in the text. You said
I think they're gonna. I think I'm rooting for Girardi. I like Joe Girardi. I miss him.
Yeah, I like Joe Girardi, but I'm not.
Well, obviously you're not. But, yeah.
But in any event, and word on the grapevine, Pete, is that Harry has a very interesting old balls for Wednesday.
Excellent.
Yes. That'll be good for at least 15 minutes.
At least 15. So, anyway. All right. Well, we'll wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. Those of you listening, just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.logaroom.com. That's LEGERROM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Locker Room. Remember, we go live with the regular weekly video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at 7:30. For those of you that want to just listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And if you have not done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, that's for following along with us. Have a great weekend. Enjoy all of the competition and the game, of course, on Sunday. And we will talk to you soon. Take care, guys. Cheers. What are you trying to say?
Did you hear that?
Just cleaning my lens.
Just blowing hot air.
Blowing hot air again. Not
that cold air.
Turn it upside down and do it. That's always fun.
Well, that's when you inhale it.
No, you want to do that.
That's only on his. He only does that on his OnlyFans page.
There you
go.
That's
right. That costs money.
That's right. That's what the robe is for.
That's what the robe is for. Exactly.
All right. Bye, everybody.
We'll see you. Take care.